But even if somebody signed up, if the intent was not there, then of course you're not held liable. So that brings the question, but my existence was not by choice. God chose me to exist without my choice. Isn't that sort of coercion and putting me through this pathway that I didn't want to be? Here brings another very interesting point. That God is saying to us in the Quran, for example, He says, أَلَيْسَ اللَّهُ بِأَحْكَمِ الْحَاكِمِينَ. Isn't your Lord wisest of the wise? And every believer in God admits, whether it's a Muslim or non-Muslim, says that the wisest of the wise is God. He has to be. He can't make mistakes. He cannot do silly things. He can't lie. He doesn't have a weakness. So God is saying, I originated your existence. Is there an argument after that? That if I am the wisest of the wise and I put you here, is there such a thing that I should ask you, should you exist or not? Because it's always going to trump your decision, because God's decision is superior to mine. And if it wasn't good for me to exist, then for certain I would not have existed. It's a reverse argument to say, but it's like a parent. Where the parent says to the child, I want you to go to school. The child says, look, mommy, you love me, don't you? He said, yes, I love you very much. But if you love me, then don't put me in school. I don't want to go to school. What's the mother going to say? She'll say, son or daughter, I love you, therefore I want you to go to school. I love you, therefore I insist that you do your homework. I love you, therefore you have to go to school. Now why is that? Isn't that subjection? No. There's a higher authority, and every parent, every sane being will tell you that that's a proper thing to do. In fact, if the mother were to say to the child, okay, I love you, don't go to school. You say that's a foolish mother. Because now that mother is actually aiming for the destruction of the child and not for the good of the child. Probably due to the ignorance of the child. So therefore, the Quran is saying this. And by the way, the next logical question, a rational question to ask, how could you and I be asked to exist if we didn't exist to begin with? How do you ask a nothing? Nothing, would you like to exist? The future something. You're nothing still, but what are we brought? Should we be brought to something? Question. Choose. Maybe, maybe not. Let's say I say no. I get taken back to nothing. Well, guess what? I've tried even that one. And I say to the individual who doesn't believe in God, for example, and with due respect to my atheist friends, they're good people, but I say to them, look, you seem to be angry while you're existing, and if there's a God, all this evil exists, and therefore you don't believe in God. I said, well, you have a chance, since you do believe you came from nothing, and you're going to nothing, and since nothing was better than something, then why is it when you get sick, you go to the doctor to keep something going, and not go to nothing? And he looks at me and says, well, I wouldn't suggest for you to go and put a bullet in your head, or drink some poison, because even you know that as much as you may complain, still what you have is better than not having. So God is saying to me, look at you. Even with all the arguments you put forth, when you're given the opportunity, should you truly believe that when you die you're going to nothing, then why do you prevent yourself from going there? Why do you work so hard not to go there? See, that's the inner conscience of this individual being that God is talking about. And God is saying, we have guided you. So these prophets that came were given the scriptures, and it came in stages. And the stages came where the laws of God were simple in the initial stages, and it became more complex in the later stages. As man progressed with the understanding, it became more laws and more understanding, and the vision became broader. And the final revelation that came was the Quran given to the Holy Prophet 14 centuries ago. If you read the scriptures, especially the Abrahamic scriptures, the Torah, which is the Torah, if you read the Injil, which is the Quran, which is the Bible, if you read the Psalms of David, which is known as the Zabur, you'll find a lot of similarities between all of them. For example, in the Old Testament, when God says, hear ye, Israel, O Israel, your Lord is one. This statement, if you underline it, you'll read it in all the scriptures of God. All. Hear ye, O Israel. Now, O Israel, of course, was being addressed to the children of Israel, but the principle is the same. Your Lord is one. Hear ye. This is the fundamental principle you must understand. So the Quran is saying we have guided you. How? Through these prophets. But even that's what we call an external force of guidance, where an external source comes and teaches me how to live. And our Prophet has mentioned a beautiful statement. He says, بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. Indeed, I have been sent to perfect your moral traits, meaning to make you good moral beings, kind, generous, forgiving, patient, loving, all the positive qualities of human behavior. The Prophet is saying, I have been sent to perfect that. Indeed, that was why I was sent. And every prophet prior to him were all sent to do the same thing. If you listen to the way Jesus speaks, beautiful statements he makes in the Bible. He says, why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye when there's a log in yours? What a beautiful statement. What a loving statement Jesus makes. You know, when I read that, it makes me feel like, wow, look at the guidance of God. He has never left me nor my people ever bereft of guidance. Never. And therefore, this guidance has come, and it is clear that the guidance, one of the conditions, rational conditions of guidance, is that the one who's guiding me must not be in need of guidance from among those they're guiding. Because if they are in need of those that they are guiding, then they lose their position to be guides. And the rule is very simple, that prophets chosen by God are chosen by God. They're not self-chosen, nor does the society ever choose them to say, we hereby vote by a 51% vote to make you a prophet of God. No. God says, I choose them. Even in a village, even in a family. Some prophets came just for a family. Some prophets came just for a village. Some prophets came for a town. Some prophets came for a nation. And some prophets came for all of mankind. The great prophets, Abraham, Moses, David, Jesus, Muhammad, you skip on all of them, they came for all of mankind. They were not only for a nation, they were for all of mankind. These were the grand prophets. Then there were the lesser prophets. And all of them came to guide mankind to have good moral conduct, to worship none other than one Lord, and to promote the good and to forbid the evil. These were the standards. So here Surah Al-Dahr basically states my mission in life. So what is the foundation of my existence? There's a magnificent verse in the Quran where God the Almighty, remember, He is the originator. He has no need. He's absolutely independent. God is not relative. He is absolute. He's the antithesis of relative, meaning He has no frame of reference. So God is saying to me in the Quran a very beautiful verse. He says, كَتَبَ عَلَى نَفْسِي الرَّحْمَةِ. I have made it incumbent upon myself mercy. That's a very powerful statement in the Quran. God has made it incumbent upon Himself. You know, God is the lawgiver. He's the authority. We are subservient to the Master. Here the Master is saying, I have made myself incumbent, meaning mercy has been made incumbent upon me by myself. It's a figurative speech, of course. Meaning God is saying that the driving force for everything you will ever discuss, your existence on this earth and thereafter, is on the foundation of mercy. Rahman, mercy. Now mercy, if you look, is shared among the Abrahamic faiths, and of course other faiths too. But I'll talk about the Abrahamic faith since that is the predominant number of people in the world today. If you examine mercy in the Quran, every chapter in the Quran begins with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the Beneficent, the Merciful. And you will find that that is the foundation of the religion of Islam. Among our Christian brethren, you will find it is the same. John 3:16, for God so loved the world, He gave His only Son, or begotten Son, however you want to look at it. You will see that here, the foundation of that statement is also love of God. What differentiates slightly, though in principle it is the same, is that the way I see it is that love is a subset of mercy. When somebody is merciful, love comes part of it. A merciful mother is a loving mother. So the Quran is showing on a grander scale that this mercy, Rahman and Rahim, beneficence and mercy, is the driving force of your existence. Which I hope by my making such a statement, it is answering some of your questions in your mind to say, why do I exist? Why all these problems? Why the difficulty? We must never forget that the foundation by which all discussions exist upon is mercy. It has to be. And God is telling us in the Quran that the foundation of your existence is mercy. Implying that God is so merciful that He loves you, He guides you, He protects you, and He forgives you.